So let's talk about the album that really kind of changed the game for Fatback. In my opinion, that's Fired Up and Kick In, which had the huge hit I Like Girls. You know, being in Los Angeles, I mean, that track was, you know, in the hourly rotation for I don't know how long. And I was in high school at the time, and, you know, P-Funk and the Ohio Players were like my favorite bands. And I mean, that was right in there. You know, you mentioned the P-Funk influence, but I think there's some Ohio Players influence in there too.
Oh, yeah.
But what a great track. So, I mean, how did you first come up with that groove, and how did it develop?
That was more or less that we did in the studio. Bill had an idea for the bass line, which Flip then expounded upon, and I kind of just went along for the ride at this point. You know, I didn't do a whole lot to it. I might have made a suggestion here and there, but you could feel where the groove was going, and it's got some strange time signatures in there in spots too. So I kind of enjoyed that, you know, and then where we went for the bridge. So what I really wanted to add was the Bernie Worrell effect on the bottom, you know, adding the Moog bass and some of the little
squiggles
sections that Bernie liked to do, but recognize that was a great groove, and it was a great record for the time of year that it came out, which was coming into late spring, early summer. You know, it was just the time for girl watching, you know. And what we did, that was done at Media Sound, and what we did is we had the engineer Ron St. Germain go out onto the street on 57th Street, where it was located, off of 7th Avenue, and at that time, well, it came out in the late spring, but it was actually recorded earlier in the year. So the buses still had their snow chains on them. And if you listen to the intro, you can actually hear the buses going by. You hear those chains rattling. You know, that's what it is. So that was recorded in stereo, and we mixed that into the very beginning of the record, as they're talking about. You know, you hear Duke. I forget what the phrase he actually says. You know, about the very beginning, and then it gets into that groove, and that groove just keeps going and just gets you, you know. So,
and who's doing the spoken word parts?
That was Bill.
Oh, that's Bill, yeah.
That was Bill, yeah. Most of that's Bill, and all of that is the thing about Bill's vocals is it's one and done. You're not gonna get it the second time, you know. So he may, with a song like that, when we do it, you know, he can get into the character of it, but you're not going to hear it exactly as the record. He could never lip sync his own records because he doesn't remember, you know. So they're spontaneous type of things, you know.
Did you ever have to perform that on Soul Train? That would have been a lip syncing situation, probably. So.
Most of the Soul Train that we did was lip syncing. You know, even with Jimmy, a lot of times it was lip syncing. They did do some live stuff, because you can tell a lot of times, you know, when you're watching it, which is live and which is the lip sync. Generally, you hear it start dying down. You know, and saying, okay, we know that they're lip syncing on that one. But on the Is This the Future album, there was a song on there called Up Against the Wall, which is all Bill just extemporaneously rapping. You know, he's talking about, you know, the man and Big Brother and all the rest of that stuff, you know. And we couldn't perform the song, couldn't do it. And it was funny because in Texas, Tom Joyner liked that particular record. So I remember, I think I was either in Texas with him or in Chicago. I forget. I think it was Texas though. because Tom worked in both. He used to fly back and forth between both cities. I think he was Dallas and Chicago, and that was one of the popular records. And I was doing a promotional tour, and Bill wouldn't go because he knew he had to do that. So we had to kind of fake it, and just play, let the track play, and throw in a couple of the phrases every now and then. But it was funny. But Fatback had a lot of tunes that we never played live. A lot of tunes, because they just come and then they were gone.
Well, back then too, I was, high school for me, and I, went to all the house parties and packed in like sardines and little sweat boxes. And I mean, these Fatback tracks, like I Like Girls, they were just phenomenal, in that setting. Did you know when you recorded it, did you think, wow, this one's going to be a hit?
Well, I mean, a lot of times you have that feeling, but you never knew. And it was funny because we had recorded that, right? And that was right coming up to the end of Bill's contract with Spring. And he re-signed just before that came out. And I was saying, Bill, if you hadn't signed that renewal, we could have taken this record somewhere else. Really had to come out. But anyway, like I said, things happen, and you just go with the flow.